We're talking with NAFB Hall of Famer Cliff Mitchell as we're visiting here in Melrose, Minnesota today. And of course, Cliff for many years was on KASM in nearby Albany, but this area is certainly one that he covered for quite a few years. And we're very happy to have you with us, Cliff. Now that you're retired, you tell me that you're actually staying as busy or busier than you did when you were working.
Well, between the honey-do list and volunteering a little bit, well, it keeps you busy.
Yeah. Let's go back. How did you get started in radio, and when was that?
Well, I started in radio back in 1952, I guess it was, no, 51, take that back. And I'd always had the idea I wanted to be in radio. There's 4 things I wanted to do in life. I wanted to be in radio, I wanted to be an auctioneer, a fireman, and ride rodeo, and I made the gamut.
So you got all those things out of your bucket, right?
Got
that
all
bucket
those things.
list, you got it done. Yeah.
Got it done. And so then I went to radio school at Brown's down in Minneapolis at that time. R. Castle Brown was running that. Mm-hmm. And so my first assignment after I got out of Brown's was KASM in Albany, and I stayed there. I was going to leave a couple of times, but my wife, she didn't take to it too well. She was a native of the area. Mm-hmm. And so we stayed there, and when I'd get real disgusted, I'd go down to Minneapolis about 4 o'clock in the afternoon and drive around a little bit, and golly, I was so glad to get back home.
Well, you saw a lot of changes in radio over those years.
Oh, yes. We had the big tape recorders, the old magnet boxes. I'll never forget one time when Adlai Stevenson was running for president. And I come with those 2 great big cartons of a magnet box. I'd look worse than John carrying equipment around, I'll tell you. And went up to broadcast there. That was, and now we got down to, they got them no bigger than a flashlight. And
makes it a lot easier.
It does.
For traveling.
Yeah.
When you got into radio, what did you want to do? I mean, did you want to be a farm broadcaster, or actually you appealed to a wide audience, and you did a lot of different things, didn't you, throughout your career? I
don't know. I was kind of a disc jockey when I started out. That's what I was hired as a disc jockey, and played records. Of course, we had the old-time music, the foot stomping kind, and then eventually, as the radio station grew, it was only been on the air not quite a year when I got there. And as it grew, well, they changed the format and kind of threw some of the records aside, and you did more talking.
Now, you did what I call good local radio, and you, even as the years went by, you still did the things that really I thought made local radio so good, and did it so well with your interaction with the audience, still doing live copy with your sponsors. Tell us about how your show progressed and developed over the years.
Well, we started out and I played records, and then pretty soon it cut down to 5 records that I played, and then it cut down to 3 records that I played, and pretty soon there was no records. I just kept talking. And the people of the area, they accepted me well, and we had a lot of fun doing it. You talked about leaving. One of the times I was going to, when Jimmy Dean worked in Washington, D.C., I had a chance to go to work for that network there, and wanted to real bad, but it never materialized, so I stayed in Albany.
Well, worked out good for you, and it certainly worked out good for the people in this area. Your wife was and is a big part of what you do. I mean, she was always there supporting you, and now, as you said, she keeps you busy with plenty of things to do. But I can remember seeing her at the NAFB convention over the years, and she was like a partner with you in all through your career.
Well, she took the pictures and served the donut holes.
That's right, the donut holes. Yeah, we remember those well. Let's talk about NAFB. When did you join NAFB? What do you remember about those early years?
Gee, I don't remember what year it was I joined the NAFB, but it's been quite a while ago. Let's see, who was president then? A fellow from Iowa, I think, was president. I don't know when I joined. They had a big fuss about it when I joined, because I was playing records. I played a few records yet.
So there were membership questions and issues even then, right?
Yeah, so they had a big hearing. The former broadcaster at WHO, Ken Ruth, he was one of the vice presidents at that time. And so we were sitting down in the hotel in Kansas City and having breakfast or lunch, I forget what it was, and he come in and says, well, they accepted you, they're going to take you. So that was the big word.
So this would have probably been in the 80s?
Oh, probably before that.
Maybe late 70s, something
yeah.
there. Were there other broadcasters when you were getting started that you knew about or listened to, or kind of were mentors or people that you looked at and said, I like the way they do it, I can learn from them?
Well, we had several from Minnesota at that time. Al Karstens from Albert Lee, who was born over at Belgrade, only 20 miles from our radio station, and he was a member at that time. The fellows from Minneapolis, former HO, not the HO,
CCO?
CCO members there, and so we rubbed elbows a little bit and got acquainted.
Of course, back then, big market radio stations, they were doing agriculture programming.
Yeah.
And they had farm broadcasting back then. That's your change, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Now it's, you got to look to find a grain market to see what corn is still $7 or not.
Do you get up as early as you used to?
Not quite. I used to get up at, well, I got up at 3:30 in my early career, and then we got computers, and then I had to start getting up at 2:30 to find out what was going on. And now I don't get up till 4 o'clock.
Well,
So.
you're sleeping in, living the good life
Yeah.
now. I can remember going through the officer chain within NAFB. It was tradition that you would interview the officers while we were in Kansas City for the NAFB convention, which sometimes was tough because maybe we stayed out a little too late the night before, and you'd get us up early next morning. But it was an honor. We all look forward to that being on your show. You interviewed a lot of NAFB officers.
Oh, I think every one since the second year I was in the NAFB. I started that. Kind of got that idea from Jerry Erdahl. Remember Jerry? He was from originally from over by Litchfield, and he ended up in Wisconsin. But Jerry and his partner, they interviewed me on the first time I was at the NAFB. And so the next year I said, well, we're going to do this. So we took donut holes and the microphones to my room and got everybody up at 5 o'clock.
Well, food's always a good way to get people there. Of course, for many years we'd cover the FFA convention while we were in Canada, and the American Royal, along with our NAFB convention. Yeah,
that used to be something you'd do that program and in the morning, and get up and then head up to the NAFB or to the FFA convention, and do interviews. We had kind of a race. The fellow used to be at Worthington. What the devil's his name? Anyway, well, him and I would have a race to see who had the most interviews. And the most we ever got up to, I got up to 95.
Wow.
That you did little spurts that you played after you got back, in other words.
I can remember Bruce Lease.
Bruce, yeah, Bruce.
I can remember, it seems like, I can remember him doing all those interviews. It was amazing how many people he interviewed.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Looking back on your career, what were some of the highlights for you? What really stood out?
Oh, highlights, I guess, talking to presidents and governors and the hierarchy of the NAFB, and it was all very interesting. I'll never forget one time, this is back when they run this first big power line through Minnesota, and there was a big squabble about this. They were fighting about this. So Rudy Perpich was governor at that time, and Rudy and I, we had kind of a get-together. He used to call me. In fact, he was the only governor that ever sang happy birthday to me. But he called me one morning and said, can you go up to Westport with me today, going up to the power line? And so I was alone at the station, and so then I called the manager and, can you get somebody to cover for me? I got a chance to go with the governor. We went up there to where the power line was going to be built, and so we around there, and there was quite a crowd around. They knew the governor was coming, and about that time, here come a farmer by with a sidewinder spreader, spread manure, trying to spray us.
On purpose?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Was that to get you or the governor?
Well, I guess both of us.
Yeah. I was maybe the governor. I know, I've been with you in this area. You're like a rock star here. You had a great following here, and a real good, great relationship, which I think has always been such a special part of being a farm broadcaster, the bond we have with the audience.
I believe that too. You seemed very close. In fact, I volunteer at the VA one day a week now, and I meet a lot of people that come through there from the entire area that come in. Don't I know you?
And you know, when you, especially as long as you were in the business, I mean, generations grew up with you. So those kids, when they started having kids and grandkids, they were.
Well, I was on the 4th generation of kids. Many times I heard the kids remark, "My dad always just listened to this in the barn, and I couldn't stand it. I'd try to turn the radio off, you know, and then he'd turn it back, and then pretty soon, well, they grew up, and they were the ones that were turning the radio back again, and their kids were turning it away. And I guess we had to the 4th generation we hit."
In 2005, you were inducted into the NAFB Hall of Fame. What was that like?
Oh, it's a big honor. Something I never thought I'd do. Like, you got to be president of the NAFB. I never did that. It was an honor to get to be in the Hall of Fame. Dix Harper just does a wonderful job of putting things together.
You make a lot of friends in this business, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you still have them. Evan Slack, a lot of people like you that you visited with and talked with. John.
We spend, in this business, you spend a lot of time on the road or away from home, so those colleagues become like family in many ways.
It does. You kind of share them, and just like you here today, it's like old home week, you know.
It's good to be in this area.
What did we do? 1, 2, 3, 4 of these broadcasts for AgriTalk?
I was just glad to be with you because everybody wanted to come up and talk with us as long as Cliff was around. You know, you were the star here, and when you look back, I mean, did it go fast now that you look back on it, all those years?
Well, I didn't realize that it was 57 years that I'd been in Albany until I started counting. Gee, 3 months I'd have made it 57.
Wow. If you could do it, if you go back and could choose a career again, would you choose to do it again?
Yes, I enjoyed it immensely. I enjoyed the people I've met. I've enjoyed the organizations that I've belonged to, the awards that I've got. Just real comfortable with it.
The industry's changed a lot. You know, some for good and some maybe not as good. We miss a lot of the things in the old days, but you said the advancements in technology and things like that, but it's still a people business, isn't
it is. Being a farm director is a people business, like yourself. AgriTalk, it's been your life, and you, wherever you go. And when I come in here today, what do I see? A couple of listeners of mine that I consider were mine, up visiting with you and getting acquainted.
Yeah, I always thought the greatest compliment that listeners could give you is when they called you their farm broadcast. You're my farm broadcast. That's that personal relationship.
It is.
Well, nobody did it better than you. It's good to see you again. Glad you're enjoying retirement, and thanks for all that you've done for the people in this area, for agriculture, and for farm broadcasting. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Mike.
Cliff Mitchell, 2005 NAFB Hall of Famer.